Undroppables Playbook, a football podcast. With your hosts, Ashley and Michael, please sit back and enjoy the show.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Undroppables Playbook, a football podcast presented by the Undroppables and sponsored by Analyst Depot. I am your host, Ashley. This is our other host, Michael Duncan. How are you?
I'm wonderful. I'm in the middle of a draft right now. And by the middle, I mean the fourth round. This is with all of my college friends. Shout out Millersville, I guess. And yeah, so this is probably going to be a more sporadic podcast on my part because I will be not on purpose live reacting to things that are happening on my second screen as I try and do this draft while live on a podcast. You're muted.
Sorry, it's because I sit in a beanbag chair and I was moving to fix the lighting. Good content is what I said.
You need to get a regular chair.
No, I love my I used to sit in a regular chair, but I love my beanbag chair. It's so much better.
If you say so. I mean,
it is. I get to sit here nice and comfy. I just don't want to move around a lot because then you can hear the little beans moving.
Oh, shit. I'm on the clock.
All right. What are we going with?
I don't know. I got stuff stolen from me.
Did they take T. Higgins?
Yeah, they took T. Higgins, went later than he should have, but still probably too early. I hope you screw up your draft, Michael. Thanks, Kyle. Really appreciate that. Okay, so I don't love it, but I'm going to take Deontay Johnson in the fourth round. I started with Christian McCaffrey and Javonte Williams and Michael Pittman in the first three rounds. Now I have Deontay Johnson, and there's a guy I'm hoping falls to me this round. So we'll see. Or in two picks. No, I can't. Well, I sent them the link to watch the pod because one of my friends wanted to watch me react live. So I want to hear the little beans moving, Kyle says.
Oh,
that's fine.
Should I make the little beans move?
No, I don't like the way that sounds.
Why?
As a sentence. It doesn't make me feel good inside.
Can I just? I'm your producer, but I'm making the noise. Ready?
I don't like this. Just take us into the next segment.
Okay, I will.
We're already off the rails, and we're 3 minutes in. It's not even my fault.
We only have 2 segments today. That would be the news, and then we are going to talk about what we think is going to happen this season, final standings for all of the divisions to kind of wrap up what we were talking about. Every team in our final preseason shows. So we have lots of news. This week was cut down week. NFL rosters are officially down to 53-man rosters. So a lot of people are now free agents looking for teams. A couple of last minute trades going on before the 53-man rosters were released. So we can jump into it. Some non-really roster related news is that Brian Robinson, the Washington Commanders running back rookie out of Alabama, was shot in an attempted carjacking last week. Shot multiple times in the lower extremities. He is recovering nicely, so says the coach, and he was in the hospital for a little bit. He did make the roster, so they are keeping him there, and there is hope that he will be able to play at some point this season.
Yeah, it was a real roller coaster day for, I would assume, Brian Robinson. I mean, like, a report came out not even 2 hours earlier that, he was expected to be the lead back for Washington this season with Antonio Gibson on kick return duties in the preseason. And then, like a couple hours later, it was like, oh, he's in the hospital.
And not just like a little injury, like he got shot several times. He was in critical condition.
No, he was not in critical.
No, but I mean, like getting shot twice is. You
need to be very careful when we're using medical terms. Yeah, he was shot twice, but they were non-life threatening injuries.
Yes,
he was shot twice in his leg area.
Yep.
So yeah,
my apologies. I didn't mean it to come out like that. Like I'm just saying, it wasn't like it was like a torn ACL or anything. Like he had an altercation and was shot twice. That's
not the type of news you expect to get.
No.
So no structural damage. Says Kyle reminds us in the chat. Very lucky in that regard. Not so lucky because he got shot. But everything seems to be okay. He was not. I I don't know if he was actually placed on IR yet. I would assume that once he did make the initial 53-man roster, which means he's not going to miss the entire season, but he can be placed on IR. He could have been as of 4 o'clock today. I didn't see whether or not he was.
I don't think he was. They had hope for him to be able to play this season.
Well, yeah, but if you're placed on IR after 4 o'clock today.
Oh, right.
Games.
I forgot about that. If you're placed beforehand, you miss the entire season.
Yes.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
So many IR rules.
Yeah, it's a lot,
Crazy.
But it's fine. Speaking of injuries, this one a little less gun related. Tyron Smith is out indefinitely with a torn hamstring. It was like literally torn off the bone, I believe. Very just weird injury, and this marks, I believe, every season since 2016 that Tyron Smith will miss at least 3 games. There's some people that are hoping that he could possibly be back by December. I don't know about all that, but Downey. But as of right now, they are in need of a starting left tackle.
Yes. We could jump into Byron Jones, the Miami cornerback, was added to the IR and will miss at least the first 4 games because he was placed on IR after the deadline. Big news for Jimmy G. Jimmy G restructured his contract with the 49ers to stay with the team as a backup. He gets a no-trade clause and a no-tag clause and is set to be a free agent after this season. The maximum value of his contract is $15.45 million. I know Trey Lance had nice things to say after he was added. He said, he's very happy to have him behind as his backup. They still plan to keep Trey Lance as starter. I wouldn't doubt they use him in select sets. Kyle said Downey barking is his favorite part of the show. Mine too.
I love Downey, but she's a pain in my butt. I would actually be very surprised if he ever saw the field, if it weren't purely for a injury related thing. I don't think they want to. Open that
can of worms.
Yes, because it's very hard to put back.
I get that. I still think he's going to see some time.
I would love to bet you that he wouldn't, barring injury or a benching. I don't, because he's not Trey Lance where it's like you're putting him in there to be athletic or do a weird thing. Like anything that Jimmy G can do, supposedly you would hope that Trey Lance can do.
Yeah.
So I don't know. You normally see that with a guy like Trey Lance or a Lamar Jackson or a Jalen Hurts, not a veteran that is not known for his athleticism. Just my 2 cents, but yeah. Everyone said what they thought. Everyone said what they're supposed to say. Did you say the max value of the contract?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, so it's very much based on different playing like things that he has to reach, including I believe 50% snaps in a Super Bowl was worth some amount of money. That was one of the things that I saw. So
interesting.
15.45 might be a little bit of a misleading number, but
yes.
Yeah.
Anyway. Couple of trades. Laviska Shenault was sent to the Vikings for a 7th and a 6th. And Jalen Reagor.
Wait, did you say Laviska Shenault was traded to the Panthers?
Sorry, I have both of them back to back. My apologies. Laviska Shenault was traded to the Panthers for a 7th and a 6th. And Jalen Reagor was traded to the Vikings for a 7th and a conditional 4th.
The Eagles got more for Jalen Reagor than the Cowboys did for Amari Cooper. And I don't want to hear the salary dumping excuses because Amari Cooper is sort of a much better wide receiver than Jalen Reagor. Howie has been a god this weekend.
He really has. My favorite thing of it all is that the Eagles selected him right before Justin Jefferson, and now he's going to play with Justin Jefferson.
Well, yeah. So in one offseason, Howie Roseman said, J-Jaw, you're going to go hang out with DK Metcalf, the guy that Eagles fans wish you were. And Jalen Reagor, you're going to go hang out with Justin Jefferson, the guy that Eagles fans wish you were.
Yep.
So, needless to say, the irony is not lost on Eagles Twitter. And the fact, so the conditional 4th, it would be downgraded to a 5th if certain playing time things aren't, met. But either way, that's way more than they probably deserve to get for a player that has shown little to nothing in his first 2 seasons in the NFL. So
And how do you feel about Visca?
I mean, I think it gives them I think he kind of replaces Curtis Samuel from 2 seasons ago. I think realistically, like, I mean, Laviska hasn't shown much either. So it's taking a shot on a guy that you don't need to be your wide receiver one, that he's just a depth guy. Probably is going to get some looks in the slot with DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson on the outside, I guess. Maybe you're hoping that he can, you know, sort of maybe even be like a little bit of a backup running back, almost in like a Debo very, very light kind of way. But I don't know.
I think it's good for the Jags. Great move for them, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think it's fine. Like, I don't know. If I were the Jags, I probably would have just kept him. I mean, it's a new regime, and it's not like you're like flushed with wide receiver depth.
Yeah.
I mean, he would have been at least the third, but even still, I don't know.
Yeah.
Ah, damn
Either
it.
way.
Jalen
You want to lead us into the next couple?
Yeah, Jalen Hurts just got taken. Yeah, so next up, so another Eagles trade. So Eagles fans were very confused when it was reported that the Eagles cut Anthony Harris, who is projected to be one of our starting safeties, along with Marcus Epps. And then not less than a minute later, it was reported that the Eagles traded for Chauncey Gardner-Johnson from the New Orleans Saints. He's kind of like he's played most of his NFL career actually in like the slot safety nickel type role, but he is going to be primarily a safety with the Eagles. If you're not sure who that is, it's the guy that talks a lot of trash, has punched and gotten punched on the field, and called. Oh, never mind. Sorry. No, I'm thinking of something else. But regardless, he's the type of guy that you hate to play against, but when he's on your team, you absolutely love him, and he will fit in perfectly in Philly. So I am very excited. It's also safety was by far the biggest position of need on the Eagles, and we got a guy that's going into the final year of his rookie contract, so he is going to have to get paid reasonably coming up soon. But regardless, it's a great trade for very little value. We gave up a 5th and a 6th, and we got Gardner-Johnson and a 7th. And the 6th that we gave up is the worst of 2 6s that we have. And I believe one of those 6s will be what we ended up getting for Jay Jaw. The guy that we traded for was Ugo Amadi, who we then traded for a 6. So very weird sequence of events. But needless to say, Howie Roseman is just doing a great job this offseason, and he is doing his best to put the most complete roster that he possibly can around Jalen Hurts.
Yes, I agree. Trey Sermon, former 3rd-round pick, was waived by the Niners. Alex Leatherwood, former 1st-round pick, was waived by the Raiders and then claimed by the Bears. Marlon Mack was cut by the Texans. Vikings waived 2021 3rd-round QB Kellen Mond, who then went and signed with the Browns, which I was just talking to you about because they cut Isaac Rochelle from the Browns, which I'm very upset about because I love him and his wife. I follow his wife on TikTok. She is amazing, Allison. Incredible. So I'm very sad about him being cut. Logan Ryan was cut by the Bucs and is expected to be back on the roster. Dolphins cut Sony Michel, who then signed with the Chargers. Tre'Davious White is on the PUP. Bills cut O.J. Howard, who is now visiting with the Bengals. The Lions cut Jamar Jefferson. Ravens sign Kenyon Drake. We'll get into the Bills in a second. Eagles, Jason Peters was visiting with the Cowboys today, I believe. Yeah. Lots of cuts and trades, and we could do an entire show about it, but I think those are the big ones to mention. I think that pretty much sums them up, right?
Yeah, I mean, I was scrolling through stuff for a while, just trying to pick out what I thought were the most shocking or important ones, or possibly game-changing ones. A lot of surprising stuff that happened. A lot of fun stuff, a lot of fantasy football impacting stuff.
Yes,
which I think is always fun and exciting. But I think for the most part that is I think you've got the majority of them.
Perfect. I will talk about the one we have in the middle in that group of 3 there, if you would like to talk about the other 2.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Yes. We're starting with the Steelers, right?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah,
and I'll do the second one.
Yep. So the Steelers, Mike Tomlin was asked to name his starting QB for week 1, and he refused to do it. So you're just going to see every team in the NFL quaking in their boots, trying to figure out how they're going to possibly game plan for either Mitch Trubisky or Kenny Pickett, or maybe Mason Rudolph, who they refuse to trade because, I guess, value and stuff. So, yeah, nothing too exciting there, but really just kind of like, I don't know. I hate when coaches do that. It really pisses me off. I don't enjoy it. But anyway, go on.
And give us the last one, and then I'll jump in.
Oh, okay. Darren Waller signed with a new agent, Drew Rosenhaus, in hopes of getting a new deal with the Raiders. He was holding in, but unlike most hold-ins, we don't really know if he was holding in. There's a possibility of injury, or it could just be a contractual dispute. We haven't really gotten confirmation one way or the other, but the fact that he's signing with a new agent leads us to believe that it's most likely a contractual dispute. We hope he's not injured. But again, we haven't gotten solid news one way or the other. Of course, like, he's injured, I say with quote marks around it, because he's not practicing. But
he was back at practice today, I believe.
Yeah, after signing with the new agent. So
yeah,
hoping he's healthy, and this all has to do with his contract. But I guess we'll find out soon when hopefully he gets a new contract. And
he did have some injury concerns at the end of last season, like throughout the later half of last season. Was going through a couple of injuries. Either way, last piece of news on the docket for today is something we did not talk about last week. I think it actually came out the following day. The Bills drafted Matt Araiza in the 6th round of this year's NFL draft. He was a punter out of San Diego State. He is now released from the Bills because it came out that, well, it was released, like came out publicly. A lot of the public found out that he was accused in a gang rape of a 17-year-old girl at San Diego State University while he was there. The way the story goes and has been reported and was reported to police is that Matt Araiza...
real quick, trigger warning.
Yes, sorry. So, I won't jump into the whole crazy of it, but
maybe don't go too deep into the details.
I'm not. Matt Araiza had sex with a 17-year-old girl, which he then admitted on tape to the police. And then that girl was gang raped by Matt and 2 other men, allegedly. They do have tape. At San Diego State dragged their feet in the reporting. It said 99% of the team knew about this incident. Didn't say much. Bills came out and said they knew about this for about a month. He has since been released. After this came out, they pulled him as the starting punter for their last preseason game, and he was released later that night. Matt Araiza did at the very least, admitted on tape to police that he had sex with an underage girl, in which case he is guilty of, at minimum, statutory rape. So the Bills knowing about this for a month and not doing anything about it is highly upsetting, and the entire story is highly upsetting. So many people failed this victim, survivor of this attack. The police, campus police, SDSU, the people who overlooked it in the NFL draft. So I hope she finds her justice. She actually came out publicly 2 days ago, released video of her injuries and diary after the incident. So I encourage you all, if you are up to it, to look into the story, because there is so much involved that I'm not going to talk about here, because that is not what we're going to dive into the trauma of it all, because it is a incredibly disturbing story. But he has since been released by the Bills.
I do want to say real quick, because we're not here to speculate or assume with something like this. The Bills claim that they did not know about the allegations. There was
until a month ago. They did say they knew for a month.
Oh yeah, prior to the NFL draft is what I meant. Yeah. So there was information out in the public, but it wasn't connected necessarily with Araiza's name. So yeah, just wanted to put that out there.
Yep. So that's the note we'll end on this league.
Wow, that's a fantastic note to end on.
Well, we have a lot to talk about. We'll have 40 minutes to we're not leaving you yet. We're not going to fully leave on that note. We're going to end the news on that note. Next couple of days, still there's going to be a ton of roster moves and a lot of shifting going on in the NFL. So make sure to keep up with your news. Your flag fell down. While we jump, just pull it down. while we jump into our next segment and our last segment technically before the season starts, because we will not be here next week.
And the reason we won't be here next week is because I have another fantasy draft. That one is my family draft. We do it at my uncle's brewery. If you live near Allentown or the Emmaus area, not a sponsor, but I love them because I'm related to the owner, Yergi Brewing in Emmaus, PA. They have wonderful craft beer.
And he's not just saying that because he's the family.
No, I also just like beer. But I do get to drink for free when I have my draft.
I love that they closed down the place and it's just you guys.
Well, they're not normally open on Wednesdays.
Oh, okay. Well, same thing, that you guys go in on a day off and you have the whole place to yourself.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's pretty exciting when the entire league knows the owner. So.
Yeah. How many of you guys are in your family league? Is it 12 of you?
I think it's 12. It's changed over the years. It's either 10 or 12 at the moment. Yeah, but I believe it's 12. So
okay. My family league is only 8, but I love it. That's like my original, like my OG family league is all of my a couple of my cousins, because I have many cousins, but those of us who follow football want to be a league. There's 8 of us, and we have not changed that number, and we will not be changing that number, even though, it's people are like, look at this team. How can you get this team? It's an 8 league, but it's my favorite one.
Yeah, I have mixed feelings about my family league. It is my longest running league. It's also the only league that I've been in that I've never won redraft.
Yes, I remember that.
I've had the worst possible, just the worst luck that you could ever have in a league. I've had in that league. I've had super teams. I just won my first playoff game in 10 years. Last season was my first playoff win. The year before that, my dad beat me. He does not know how to work a computer. I set his lineup, and he wanted the defense for our playoff matchup. He wanted the defense that I was going to stream, and I thought it would be mean to take advantage of the fact that he doesn't know how to work a computer. So I gave him the defense, and that defense scored, I think, 25 points. That was 2 years ago. So it was Washington, if you were wondering. So mixed feelings.
Being a good person gets you nowhere.
Yep. So I plan on getting. It's been a while since we've had a live draft. I think it's been 2 or 3 years because of COVID. So I'm very excited to see everyone drink free beer and draft with my family. So we will not be here next Wednesday, and then the time after that will be after week 1, which is very exciting.
Yes, I know, so crazy. But either way, if you've been around with us for the past couple of weeks, we have been doing a segment where we talked about big storylines from each of the teams in the NFL, separated throughout a couple of weeks. So to kind of come to a conclusion on that, we are going to talk about what we think the divisions are going to look like at the end of the regular season. So why don't you share with us what platform we used to do this? Because I loved the way we did this. It was your idea.
Yeah, so this is a shout out to my friend Ryan, who I am in a draft with right now. I believe he's the one that showed it to me. But we normally do this in one of our group chats every year, but it's called playoffpredictors.com. It allows you to basically go through every week of the NFL season and you just pick the winner of every single game. I like it because, when I'm going through an Eagles schedule or something and I'm picking, it's a lot.
There's bias.
Yeah, there's bias, obviously. And while I don't think this is necessarily the best way to get an accurate representation of the exact records you think that teams will have, because you're not taking into consideration a lot as when you're looking through a schedule where it's short rest, long rest, 3 away games in a row, that kind of stuff. You're just kind of picking I think this team will beat this team. What it does for me is it tells me more how I feel about teams. Yeah. And normally the ones that go on the extreme of either end of the spectrum, whether it be wins or losses, that tells me, I think that they're going to be one of the best teams or one of the worst teams. So that being said, don't pay too close attention, at least for me, to the records necessarily so much as the rankings.
Yeah. And I think it was just a better way to do it without having you just look at it on a week by week basis. So it helps to kind of narrow down your thinking a little bit rather than thinking completely big picture, because I guarantee you my list would have looked a little bit different. I'm not saying it would be completely different, but if I was going to do it the way when I proposed this idea that we were just going to write down each division and how we thought they were going to go order 1 to 4, I think it would have been completely different than the way I have it right now. So
mine as well. I've got I've got a couple of things that I'm kind of surprised about and I'm excited to talk about. But
Yeah.
yeah,
So
I'm
how
okay
do you
with
want to do it? Do you want to do the way we did it with like AFC, NFC, or do you want to just go through,
yeah, let's
jump back and forth, or go right through?
let's start with division winners. So let's do
Okay.
like AFC, do the division winners.
Sure.
Or we can do seeds or whatever. Doesn't really matter. But
I stopped after week 18, so
I went through the playoffs.
I didn't, but I
Okay.
can do it while we're sitting here if you'd like.
You should.
Okay.
But yeah, so I'll start with this. Who is your 1 seed in the AFC, and what's their record?
My 1 seed. Hold on, let me pull this one up. Where did I just put it? Hold on,
This
I
is
just put it
fantastic
somewhere.
podcasting. As
you,
an update,
you go for. Oh, there it is.
update.
Okay.
Okay, never mind.
There it is. My 1 seed in the AFC is the Denver Broncos, and I had their record as 13-4.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
I have the Bills at 15-2 with a 5-1 division record as my 1 seed. Do you have the Bills making the playoffs for you?
I do. I have them as the AFC East winner at a 12-5 record.
Is that the 2 seed, the 3 seed?
That's the 2 seed.
Okay, yeah. So my 2 seed is the. So this was tightly contested, the 2 seed, and it was 3 teams in the AFC West that were tightly contesting for this 2 seed. But I had the Chargers coming out on top with a 13-4 record to be my 2 seed and winning the AFC West. 3 seed.
We're pretty similar there. I have them at 12-5.
Okay, yeah, that's what I have the Broncos at. Spoiler alert. But 3 seed, what you got? Actually, just give me the rest of your seeding for the AFC.
Okay, so my 3 seeds actually a long shot, but I kind of, when I was looking at their schedule, I really like it. I have the 3 seed as the Colts at 11-6, but they went 6-0 in division, which I didn't expect myself to do. So that's why they're the 3 seed, is because of division. 4 seed is the Bengals at 10-7. 5 seed is the Chargers at 12-5. 6 seed is the Dolphins at 11-5, and 7th seed is the Raiders at 11-6.
So you don't have the Chiefs making the playoffs.
I don't, actually, which I didn't realize until just now. But the more I thought about it, the more I hated like picking the teams. I think there's a chance, but yeah, I didn't originally have them there. I had them losing the division. Actually, but them and the Raiders were tied.
Coming in last in the division.
Yeah, sorry, last in the division. Them and the Raiders were tied 11-6 with both 3-3 in division record.
So you raise a good point, because I have the Chiefs at 11-5, and that is not enough games for a season. So
wait, I did that too. I had missed a couple here and there. So then I was looking. I had to add it up to 17 in each of the. I had to look through the entire list and make sure, because I had missed a couple games here and there, apparently.
Yeah, so I'm going to go through and fix that real quick while I tell you what the rest of my AFC was. I also had the Colts as the 3 seed.
What would you have the record as?
I had them at 10-7, so I believe 1 less win than you did.
Yes, but what did you have them in division?
5-1.
Okay, so not as far off as I expected it to be. I saw them at 6-0, and I was like, "What did I do?"
No, I have a really tough time. I'm not sure I had 1 team that was 6-0 in division.
That's my only team that was 6-0 in division.
Yeah, I normally have a very hard time putting a team 6-0 in the division.
I agree,
because
I think that's harder than like a
even if they're the best team by far, it's just very hard to do.
I got into that debate with the Patriots, at least with Miami, because usually they split them. There's certain teams that always split games in division. So I got into that debate a couple times throughout this.
Yeah, because that type of thing, it doesn't actually, sometimes it just doesn't matter how good the teams actually are.
Exactly.
They're the teams that you see every week. At my 4 seed, I actually have the Ravens, which kind of surprised me, beating out the Bengals. They were both 9-8 in division in the AFC North. But I had the Ravens with a 4-2 division record and the Bengals with a 3-3 division record, which ended up being the tiebreaker.
So ours are opposite, because I have Bengals 10-7, 3-3, and I had the Ravens at 9-8 and 2-4.
Oh wow, 2-4 in division. Interesting. But yeah, that was, I think, maybe the most surprising. But even more surprising is that I didn't have the Bengals making the playoffs. They ended up losing. They ended up being out of the wild card because most of my other wild cards were just kind of better. There we go. Okay. Thankfully, that did not change my rankings because I did fix what I was trying to do. Yes.
So my wild cards here, I would have them losing in the wild card as well because my wild card has them playing against the Chargers, and I would have the Chargers winning.
Okay. I mean, that's fair. The division sucks. Yeah. Colts not winning in Nashville. Okay. Well, I didn't have them winning in Nashville, Kyle. So anyway, so the rest of my AFC, I have the Bills 1, Chargers 2, Colts 3, Ravens 4. Then at wild card, I have the Broncos and Chiefs both at 12 and 5. Now I think technically this might be wrong because I had to update it because I have the Chiefs at 4 and 2 in division and the Broncos at 3 and 3 in division. So I have the Chiefs at the 5 seed, the Broncos at the 6 seed, and the Patriots coming in at 11 and 6 as my 7 seed in the AFC.
Wow.
So the thing that I think surprised me the most really was just the fact that I didn't have the defending AFC champions in the playoffs at all.
That is. So I went back and forth with the Ravens a lot. Theirs was actually one that I looked at a little bit closer. So after I picked all my teams, after I picked every week, you can click on a team and see what you had. And they were actually a team I made an adjustment on, which I didn't do a lot, but there was I think 1 or 2 games that I flopped from what I had because I didn't feel as confident after I saw what their numbers were, if that makes sense.
No, I think that makes sense to me.
Yeah. I'm doing my playoffs now.
All right. Well, so I'll start with the NFC then. So I had so again, this is where I say, don't take my records all that seriously. Take, I think, the way that I feel about teams more seriously.
Mm-hmm.
I actually had 2 teams go 15 and 2. But the Buccaneers, I believe, actually had the head-to-head tiebreaker. And they were the first overall seed in the NFC for me, going 15 and 2. So they actually tied with the Bills for the best record in the NFL. And then I have the Eagles as the 2 seed, also going 15 and 2, tied for the best record in the NFL. Now, part of that is I think the Buccaneers are good, but the Eagles also have a very easy schedule. So as you're just kind of going through their schedule, it's very hard to find losses. They're gonna happen because that's just how the NFL works. But on paper, they should win a lot of games, especially with the stacked roster that they have. Then I have the Packers coming in as the 3rd seed and the winners of the NFC North at 13 and 4, and the Rams as the 4th seed at 12 and 5, and the winners of the NFC West. Do you want to give your division winners first?
Sure, I can. So I don't have 15 and 2. I have 2 12 and 5s, which are the Green Bay Packers and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Those come in at 1 and 2. Both of them were actually 5 and 1 in division. Then I have the Eagles winning the NFC East at 11 and 6, and the Los Angeles Rams coming in at 10 and 7.
You're a coward.
I couldn't give you too much benefit, and that's again by some bias, but I couldn't give you too much benefit of the doubt.
I gave a lot of benefit.
Yeah,
just how much benefit soon. So this is, I think, where I was most surprised on the NFC side. So my 5 seed is the Niners. That's nothing too crazy.
Mine too.
The 6 seed was the Vikings. I found I was picking them a lot more often than I thought I would.
Me too. And I was like, what?
Yeah, so they finished at 11 and 6 for me. So same record as the Niners. I guess they just must have had a worse in conference record. I think that's what it does. I think that's a tiebreaker for the wild card. And then I want you to guess what my 7 seed is at 10 and 7 in the NFC.
10 and 7 out of the blue. I'm going to say Falcons.
No, it was the Detroit Lions.
Yes, I know. I don't have them there, but I want them so bad, and they did a lot better than I expected.
I didn't mean for that to happen. Yep. I have Dallas at 9 and 8. They were what I was kind of expecting to be my 7 seed.
They're in my 7 seed.
The Cardinals are also 9 and 8. Maybe I was expecting them more so to be the 7 seed. The Saints I have at 7 and 10. I just don't think they're going to be as good as they think they are this year. But I shocked myself by picking the Lions as often as I did, and I thought I was being kind of hard as I was going through on them. So I have 3 teams from the NFC North making the playoffs, and the Lions sneaking in there as a 7 seed, and therefore playing the Eagles in the first round. So what about you? Who are your wild card teams for the NFC?
Yeah, so after we have Green Bay, Bucks, Rams, and Eagles, my 5 spot was the Niners, which is also also what you had. I had them at 10-7, 4-2 in division. 6th, I had the Saints at 9-8 and 5-1 in the division, which I also didn't expect. But as I got a little bit further in the season, I saw them pulling away a little bit. And I have the Cowboys at 9-8 as the 7 seed with 3-3 in division.
I hate the Cowboys.
Me too. And I hated that happened. Honestly, I agree with you, though, with the Vikings and the Lions. I picked them for more games than I was expecting them to. I even think I was very hard on the Vikings. I had them at 7. I had both of those teams as 7 and 10. And I think I could have given the Lions probably 2 more than what I did. I think I was a little bit harsh on them here and there, especially with like in division games. But yeah, I didn't expect that division as a whole, the NFC North, I didn't expect to look that good. What did you have the Bears record as?
0-17.
Did you? I had 2-15. I felt bad at 0-17.
Yeah, that.
Who did I have them beating? Hold on, let me look.
Again, that is very much. I don't expect them to win 0 games. I don't think they're that bad.
Yeah.
But that's again the kind of like on either end of the spectrum, on the high or the low. Like I just had a really hard time individually picking what game they would win. So my bottom 3 teams, all which had that kind of issue, that I expect to be at near the bottom, but probably not 0 wins. I have the Bears at 0-17, the Seahawks at 1-16, and the Jets at 1-16.
Wow, you were hard on the Jets.
Yes, and another team, the 4th worst team on my list, were the Browns at 2-15. So, yes, those were my bottom 4 teams, all of which I expect to win more games than I probably gave them credit for. But the Browns shocked me the most. I was shocked I was that low on them.
My lowest one was the Bears. I have them at 2-15, and also like the games I gave them because I felt bad about going. I couldn't confidently put them 0-17. I had them beating the Lions, which I don't. In week 17, the Lions are home, so I don't even think that's going to happen. So that's my lowest team, and then I have the Seahawks at 3-14, the Jaguars at 4-13, the Jets at 6-10, and I have the Browns going on a run, unfortunately, after Deshaun Watson comes back and ending the season 7-10.
I gave Houston the win over the Browns.
Did you?
I did. And I also gave Baker a win over the Browns. More because these are the vibes that I need in my life personally.
But like seriously, there is the jokes and the narratives around like revenge games and comeback games.
I love that stuff.
There is so much that happens that wouldn't feel like it would normally happen on any other given day.
Oh yeah. So I actually had the Jaguars going 6-11. I found myself picking them a little bit more than I was expecting. They are 0-6 in division, which I don't think is necessarily the case. Did you? I thought you said 0-5. I was like,
no, 1-5.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm torn. I think that the Jaguars could really surprise people this season. And I think I had an issue with the AFC South as a whole. Like I have the Colts. Like I do think they're going to win. The Titans, I had go 7-10. The Texans were 6-11.
I swapped those two.
I like both of those teams better than that, though.
Me too.
I think. Maybe not the Texans. I don't know. But I kind of like the Jaguars a little bit more. So I don't know. I like all those teams a little bit more than I was giving them credit for. But I think when I was just, looking at their matchups, it was hard to pick them on a week-to-week basis.
I completely agree. I think that's the division as a whole that I had the most trouble with, and that I sat there and like looked at the standings and was like, "What?" I did have a tough time with the Titans. I had them going on a long stretch of losing at the beginning of the season, which wasn't what I expected myself to do. Again, it was just looking.
That's how they started my season as well.
Yeah, pretty rough start to the season. I had them opposite you. So I had the Texans at 7-10 going 2-4 in division. And I had the Titans at 6-11 going 3-3 in division. Which I didn't expect. Like I said, I didn't expect, but the more I looked at matchup and roster and travel and home and away, I didn't like the Titans' schedule as much as I thought I did.
Yeah, and I just don't know if they have as much talent as they've had
I agree.
in seasons.
I agree.
So along with that, on the AFC side, I also had two teams that were very close to making the playoffs. I had a couple teams actually. So the Bengals, obviously, they tied with the Ravens in terms of record in the AFC North. And then I had the Steelers one game behind them both at 8-9 as opposed to 9-8. But the two closest to the wild cards were the Raiders at 11-6 and the Dolphins also at 11-6. So I had them both missing the playoffs due to tiebreakers with the Patriots at the 7 seed. So both teams that I think could make a strong push for it. I just that's how the tiebreakers worked out for me for whatever reason.
Yeah, so I had the way the tiebreakers work is what cut the Kansas City Chiefs off. I had them matching record to the Raiders at 11-6, going 3-3. And Patriots were the ones who fell in the 9 spot, who I think may do a little bit better than I have them down for, but I have them at the 9 seed for 10-7, 3-3 in division. That division as a whole, I think that the Jets are going to have more games than you expect them to, and even you said that. But I think the top 3 of that division is going to be
they're probably going to have the exact number of games that we expect them to with 17, but they might win more games than we expect.
Sorry, that's what I meant. But I think it's going to be super, super competitive, and I think the Patriots may be able to hold their own more than people are expecting them to.
Sorry, I'm trying to figure out. I was trying to figure out where Cole Kmet went in this draft because I was kind of hoping that he would be my next pick, but he is not there, which is fine. But
so since we're both fans, I do want to talk about the NFC East. What you have going on over there?
Yeah. So like I said, I actually had the Eagles and the Cowboys were both 5-1 in division, which I don't think is going to happen. But I had the Eagles 15-2, Cowboys 9-8, Giants 4-13, and Washington 4-13.
Jeez.
Yeah, I went back and forth with who I wanted to give more credit to. I feel like one of them started their season off a tad stronger, and one of them finished them a little bit stronger. But yeah, I don't know. There's not a lot to be excited about with either of those teams.
Besides who?
I mean, feel free to make an argument. Honestly, I don't think there's anything to be excited about if you're a Cowboys fan. Like, no. I read a very, very good article on The Athletic.
You love The Athletic.
Oh, it's
like their biggest fan.
I mean, it's just like, I don't know. When I go and I'm like eating lunch, I like to read an article.
No, I know. I'm not like, I like The Athletic too. I'm just saying you always plug The Athletic. You do like The Athletic.
Well, I don't.
Tell me about the article. Go. Sorry.
I'm trying to find the author of it real quick.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, basically it was about the Dallas Cowboys and kind of like why they just like suck as an organization. Bob Strum. It's called Cowboys Offseason Set the Table for a Season Unlikely to Satisfy Anyone. Which is just like, I think really accurate. Like I don't think they did anything positive. Like you look at the Eagles and what were the things they needed to improve on? Whatever they were, they improved on them. That even up until like literally yesterday when they made a huge trade for Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Then the Giants, kind of a crap show, but like hired a better coach, hired a better front office. And you have like a direction for the future. Washington, still kind of a shit show, but as long as they have Dan Schneider,
it will be.
Who knows what's going to happen there?
Yeah.
But like the Cowboys, man, like you knew Tyron Smith has missed at least 3 games every season since 2016. You traded CeeDee Lamb for nothing, and you have like the 3rd or 4th most money under the cap. You didn't really need to do that, but if you were, you probably should have done something to replace it. But the only thing they did to replace it by losing him and one of their other depth wide receivers whose name is escaping me, who went to Miami, all they did to replace him was draft Jalen Tolbert and sign James Washington. James Washington is already injured. And Jalen Tolbert is a 3rd-round rookie out of Southern Alabama. Not necessarily like who I would be counting on to like save my offense. They lucked into Micah Parsons more than I can ever care to explain. And it pisses me off that anyone gives them credit for that. Because with a top 10 pick or top 12 pick, They drafted an off-the-ball linebacker, which, one, is stupid. You should not do that. It's the same conversation we had about running backs. Cedric Brown. It was the name escaping me. Thank you, Kyle. It's bad. It's bad practice. And the Cowboys have done. I feel like they drafted a linebacker in the first round, like 9 out of the last 10 years. But whatever. That pisses me off. And then they just happen to get really lucky that he's insanely good at also rushing the passer. That doesn't normally happen when you draft a linebacker in the first round. They don't just turn into an all-pro defensive end. Like, it just pisses me off. CeeDee Lamb has not taken the leap that we want him to take yet. Maybe he is that guy, but he might not be. The offensive line is in shambles, and they did nothing to shore up the depth. They did nothing to prepare for the loss of Tyron Smith that was inevitably going to come, other than drafting a left tackle that wasn't really great at left tackle in the first round of the draft in Tyler Smith, and they exclusively played him at left guard in the offseason, exclusively. And now there's a really good chance, pending Jason Peters, that he is going to be moving left tackle for the start of the season after not taking a single rep there in the offseason. Like, they have just done nothing to give me any confidence whatsoever that they even want to win this year. Like, they are counting on Dak Prescott to take them to the promised land. Like, that's it. It's like Dak Prescott, maybe CeeDee Lamb, Micah Parsons, the guy that they didn't realize was their best pass rusher.
Yep.
And Trevon Diggs, who is not a great cornerback, but is a ball hawk. So, like, it's just, I don't know. It pisses me off.
I agree.
This isn't even coming from a place of bias. It's purely like, you are so bad at running a franchise, Jerry Jones. You are terrible at running a franchise. And I just, like, why do people hype them up? I don't get it. I don't get it.
I think as a whole,
he's not going to get blamed for it. They're going to fire Mike McCarthy, and he's going to get the blame for it. And, like, I don't like Mike McCarthy, but he does not deserve the blame. Jerry Jones / Stephen Jones deserve the blame because they are the one that is putting together this shit show of a roster.
I think the Cowboys as a whole, as an organization, for the last decade have been way too comfortable in complacency and mediocrity and expect insane results out of mediocrity on the field and in the front office. And you can't expect to have a stellar winning Super Bowl season to keep the status quo that hasn't gotten you there before.
Yeah,
and that's what they keep doing. So,
and yes, I do agree, Kyle. Mike McCarthy does.
He does.
I'm not saying he doesn't, but he's also not to blame.
Yes, and that's exactly what it is. So my NFC East, I had Eagles going 11-6, Cowboys going 9-8, Giants going 7-10, and Washington going 6-11. Which is way too. I know I bias on the Giants a little bit, but looking back on it, I gave Washington too many wins.
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily hate it. Like, I don't think on this. I'll be a little surprised if they come out of nowhere because honestly, the Giants just have a crap ton of problems. I like them long term a little bit more than I do short term. Although I don't know how I feel about Brian Dable. I go back and forth with him on a day-to-day basis because before Josh Allen took a massive step forward as a passer, he has basically no success as an offensive passing guy in the NFL. Like bottom 10 passing offenses in the NFL for the Browns and a couple other franchises. I don't have the numbers in front of me. I saw them earlier today, but just not.
I do
good,
like though that Mike Kafka's with him, which makes
I love Mike Kafka.
Make that feel better. So
former Eagles quarterback. Shout out Jake Rossi. It's his favorite Eagle of all time. I'm fairly sure.
Oh, speaking of Cowboys, we didn't mention that the Cowboys kept Cooper Rush as backup quarterback.
Great.
We mentioned Kellen Mond.
What up, Kyle? Offensive passing guy. You know what I'm saying. I can't think of the words. All right. I've got a draft on one screen that I'm trying to not focus too hard on. But I still need a tight end. I keep forgetting to draft a tight end.
Who's there?
No one at the moment. I'm not up for another 10 picks. So.
Oh, okay. So we have 10 minutes left. Is there anything else in these rankings discussions that you want to talk about? I would love to talk about the Falcons a little bit, actually.
Okay, go ahead.
So I have the Falcons at 5-12, 2-4. I found myself leaning towards like I expected them to be low. They're kind of right around where I expected to have them at, but I go back and forth with Mariota as the quarterback, and I feel like the only saving grace for helping pick wins is Kyle Pitts. So I want to know what you have, Matt, and what your opinion is.
Yeah, so I have the Falcons at 4-13. Actually tied with the Panthers at 4-13, both 1-5 in the division. Yeah, I mean, I don't think they're gonna be a good. Sorry, just a great comment from Mr. Scampers. Did you already talk about Kenny Galladay doing walkthroughs during a live game? Yes, he is referencing the fact that Kenny Galladay does not look like he gives two shits when he is out on the football field for the New York Giants. He got his bag.
Yeah, I think he is the highest wide receiver cap hit in the 2022 season.
He might be. He would cost.
I think that's what I read.
believe if you cut him, he would cost you $31 million.
Yes,
so,
like that.
So that's great. What was I saying? The Falcons. I think they're going to win some games purely just because they're going to do some weird stuff. They're going to piss people off. They're probably going to kill a lot of people in what's the thing where you survivor pool or whatever in the NFL. Like I think they're going to beat some good teams because Marcus Mariota, I believe, might have had the highest passer rating in the NFL in the preseason. I believe that's correct. If not pass rating, it was something like that. I need to start remembering what facts I'm going to talk about and then have them open somewhere and not just remember them vaguely from what I read earlier.
I love that we started tweeting each other news because if we don't send it back to each other, we'll forget it.
Yeah, it's not good. Shit. Okay. Sorry. Yeah, survivor pool. Okay. Yeah, I forgot. The comments are always like a couple seconds behind.
Yeah.
The shit was to James Robinson getting taken. I wanted to take him in a late round. Mariota, like I think he's going to be a fine quarterback. Kyle Pitts is going to be a good wide receiver. I know what I said. And that's going to allow them to win a couple games. But at the end of the day, like they just don't have a good roster. They don't have a lot of talent on their roster. So I have a really hard time predicting them to like surprise people. Because they just don't have a lot of talent. Like there's just like, I think the talent that they do have and the fact that it's the NFL and any given Sunday and all that kind of crap will get them a few wins. But like, I like the Panthers. I would bet on the Panthers to surprise people more than the Falcons because I think there's more talent in more amounts of places. A really simple way to say that, but I have them with the same record, but I don't think about them the same way.
Yeah, I had them with the same record as well, but which I didn't intend to do. I had the Panthers going 0-6 in division, which I didn't expect. And again, that's not something I would normally do, so must have messed that one up somewhere. But yeah, I think the Falcons are an interesting case. I think one last team I wanted to ask about looking at it is the Cardinals. You had them in third place in the division. What record did you have for them?
I believe 9-8. Yeah, 9-8, and they were one spot out of the playoffs. They were a win behind the Lions.
So we had them very similar. I had them 8-9 in spot number 8.
Oh my God, they cut Auden Tate.
Did they?
Oh my God, rest in peace, Auden Tate. The Falcons. Wow. I feel like if you can't make that team as a wide receiver, you are in trouble. Because they have like 1.5 of them, and one of them is Kyle Pitts. So that's not great. Anyway, sorry. Continue on the Falcons.
Yes, I was just asking your opinion on them. Not the Falcons. We're talking about the Cardinals now.
Yes, sorry. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I have them with a winning record, and like I said, I don't necessarily expect the Lions to go 10-7 to make the playoffs. So I think it's more likely that the Cardinals make the playoffs as the 7 seed. But I don't know, man. Like I don't know that I necessarily feel that they got a ton better this offseason. I think they improved in some ways and unimproved in other ways. DeAndre Hopkins missing for 6 games is no small thing. It's, I like the addition of Hollywood Brown a lot, but he's not going to replace, he's not the same type of player as DeAndre Hopkins, and he's not going to replace that. So I don't know. I'm a little all over the place with them. I think typically, like, we had talked about this in the past. I just don't know what to think about them for the most part.
I agree. I do have one more question for you, actually, that came to my head. When doing this, did you find yourself looking towards one thing more than the other? Did you find yourself leaning more on offense or defense, or more on player specific or overall roster construction? I'm just curious what your methods were going in. I know we were winging it a little bit with games, and that was kind of the point, but if you had any sort of process in your head going on.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, it was just, I looked at their rosters. I mean, I think my mind always went to the players that I know, which are the bigger names and stuff, but also just generally information that I know and kind of how they match up with certain teams in particular. Like if there was a certain, like a specific matchup where it's like, okay, I know their run defense should be really good and they're a running team. Like, okay, maybe, that leans one way. I was looking at home versus away. As kind of a tiebreaker in my mind if I thought the teams were near each other. And then, there was a little bed when they were coming off.
What did that mean?
It means they're coming
off rest. Oh.
Yeah. Come on, Ashley.
Gotcha. I couldn't figure it out at all.
But yeah, so that's yeah. I was all over the place. It wasn't necessarily consistent, but again, that's why this isn't like a hard science. This is just kind of got a better idea of how I thought about some teams.
Yeah. I think for me, I found myself leaning on defense more than I usually do. I think part of that is because I've been pushing myself a little bit to be more well-rounded in approaching and speaking about defenses as a whole. So I think I found myself leaning on defenses a little bit more than I expected to. And often if it came down to an offensive tiebreaker, I'd go to the team that had just a little bit of like extra oomph in defense. So yeah, I think we both had a lot of surprises for ourselves, which I think is really interesting. And I want you to screenshot what you have so that we can come back to this later on in the season. You're still muted. I don't know if Downey's still barking.
Nope.
Okay.
Well, she might be, but she'll be fine. No, I didn't realize I was still muted. I will screenshot it and we will come back to it. So with only a couple minutes left, do you want to just real quick, how about you just give me your championship games? And
I still have to do that. Hold on. So you go first, and then let me you select first, and then I will.
So my AFC Championship was the 1-seed Bills versus the 2-seed Chargers, and I have the Bills progressing on to the Super Bowl. And then my NFC Championship is the 2-seed Eagles at home facing the 4-seed Rams, defending Super Bowl champions. And I have the Eagles winning and going to the Super Bowl against the Bills. This is a hard one for me personally. Some of my closest family friends are Bills fans. So I grew up, a closeted Bills fan behind my Eagleship. I did give the win to the Bills. Because I think the tiebreaker that I'm going to put it on is Josh Allen over Jalen Hurts. And also I feel like picking the Eagles to win the Super Bowl is just bad vibes, and I don't want to do that to myself. So I'll just have them make the Super Bowl instead.
I like it.
So I have the Bills over Eagles.
Okay. I have the AFC Championship game as the 5-seed Chargers versus the 2-seed Bills. And I have the NFC game as the Buccaneers versus Green Bay. That's 2 versus 1 seed. And I have the Super Bowl being the Bills and the Packers, and the Bills winning the Super Bowl.
Yeah, go Bills.
Yeah. I think Aaron
Circle the
Rodgers
wagons,
is going to
baby.
get far, but I don't think he's going to win a championship.
Circle the wagons.
Yeah.
Okay. So with all that being said, we are at the end of our hour. We are going to save this. We're going to talk about this later. I don't know how to close the show, so
I can do it. Yeah, and I want to do this because one of my favorite segments we did last year was the mid-season end-of-year awards. That was one of my favorite shows we did. So I think talking about this with there will be a lot of fun. Either way, Duncan, it's been a long, lovely hour. Why don't you tell us where people can find you?
You can find me in the 13th round of my fantasy draft. I only have 2 more picks. I did finally pick a tight end. It was Evan Ingram. Don't feel great about it, but Doug Peterson does love him a tight end. Yes. So if he can catch the ball, he'll stay on my team, I guess. But you can find me also. Downey's destroying things. Sorry. Oh. She's trying to tell me that she wants to go outside.
Yeah.
You can find me on Twitter at MPDuncan75. You can find me here every week on Wednesday nights at 8:00 or
Eastern
wherever
time.
Eastern time, or wherever you listen to podcasts the next day, other than next week, because I will be at my family draft.
Yep. You can find me on Twitter at Ashley_Marie with 2 A's at the beginning of Ashley. You could find me overthinking every one of these single picks I made during this game and doing another round to see how much my board would differ if I did it a second time around. And you can find me and all of my content with the Undroppables at theundroppables.com, and find me and all of the other Undroppables crew have access to us on our premium Discord channels, which you can get access to by subscribing to our Patreon at patreon.com/theundroppables. You can, again, find us here every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or wherever you stream your podcasts. And now you can watch live on Twitch, as well as Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. I hope you all have a wonderful night. I hope those of you with the video feed are enjoying looking at Downey. I think this may be one of the first times we've had Downey officially on the show. So thank you for joining us, Downey. Thank you, Duncan.
She's not thrilled.
Yeah, I can see
but
that.
I put her in my lap. So
perfect. Well, Downey, I hope you have a great night. Everyone listening in, I hope you have a great night. And we look forward to seeing you once again, not next week, but we look forward to seeing you once NFL has officially started
Week 1.
the season.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.